Welcome to Iconic Cars, cars from the past that were great then and are still great now.
Hello and welcome, I'm Warren Beckwith and this is the Jaguar XKR. You can see that I've become impressed with the Jaguar because I've got a sheepskin coat. And I always wanted a sheepskin coat and I actually really like it. I was never the biggest Jag fan. However, after collecting this XKR and spending nearly 600 miles in her, I've really grown to love her. She's actually a very silky smooth car. And what's really nice for me about the XKR is it really does show the shape of the Jaguar back as it was in the days of the E-Type. And I think that that's been missing. What happened through the 70s with the XKS, I really don't know. And I really got lost not wanting to be involved in Jaguars. But this is one of the nicest Jaguars I've been in for a long time. So this is an XKR, but it's not a normal XKR. It is an XKR 100. Now they made 500 of these worldwide for their centenary, and they made 160 XKR 100s for the UK market. They didn't all just make coupes because they made them as a coupe and a convertible. So this is a coupe version. It's been owned by the same owner for the last 15 years. It's had a full service history. And in fact, over 20 years, this car's 19 years and 8 months old. So if you take it over the years, that's a very minimal mileage that it's actually done. But the condition of the car really speaks for itself. But not only that, the drive. And I went to Scotland to get this car, and I was really surprised how smooth, how faultless this car drove. Didn't miss a beat, didn't pull to the left, didn't pull to the right, no rumbles, nothing, just drove beautifully. So they finished the Jaguar XKR with Recaro seats inside. They finished it with a dark ash wood, which was unique to the 100s, with a 100 inlay. It's got 100 Jaguar tread plates. It has a 100 badge on the front. It is very, very special. And actually, this is a future classic for not a lot of money. I got asked the other day whether somebody was buying an XJS that was a Le Mans edition, and they were looking at paying 40 to 60,000 pounds according to the auction price. I just couldn't see it. And I don't think I'm wrong because the XJS never really got to me. But 40 to 60,000 pounds when you could buy something like this for under 20,000 pounds, and actually its longevity and enjoyment and pleasure that it will give you back. It's also ULIZ compliant. So anybody coming into London won't have to pay the congestion charge that Mr. Kant has put onto us local Londoners who live just outside the North Circular Road. Well done, Sadiq. And this makes it a very usable, pleasurable car to have and to own. It's comfortable, it's quiet. It's like being in your own armchair, but just wafts along. Sitting in the XKR is a really comfortable environment, and everything's very well laid out in front of you. It's very easy to see the speedometer, it's easy to see the rev counter, your fuel gauge and your temperature gauge, the Alpine Dolby system that's in the car. The sat-nav, well, it might be looking old and dated, but that was state of the art at the time. Yeah, it's a small screen, but actually it's up to date with its maps and it still works absolutely fine. Alpine sound system, which still sounds good today with a subwoofer. When you think about this, it's 20 years ago, and it was one of the first early cars to start coming through with subwoofers in it. Heated seats, cruise control, even had a telephone in this car, which is one of the things you look down and you go, they actually charged on the telephone. They actually charged the customer for an aerial
Why would you have a telephone fitted in your car if you didn't have an aerial for it to work? I mean, it's just bonkers. That's the price of the phone. That's the price of fitting. How hard can it be? Yet there's an invoice in there with about 20 little subsidiary bits and pieces. Anyway, I think things have moved on a lot since then. Let's get up and drive. The V8 4-litre engine is superb. 91,797 miles is now on the clock. You wouldn't think it, but it's been carefully driven over a long period of time. It's not been owned by somebody who's been a smoker, so it's not been smoked inside, so there's no fag burns and things down the side, or even any smell of tobacco. The owner never had any children, and therefore it's never had kids in the car, or dogs. And even though this is a very powerful car, one doesn't need to drive a Jaguar that hard or that fast. In that way, people admire the car when they see you drive past, because they recognise that shape that dates back to the E-Type. Those glorious curves. I mean, the E-Type was a fabulous car. And the XKR is a beautiful looking car. Very similar, some people say, to the DB7, two cars that came out around about the same time. But the XKR represents, in my view, as much as I love an Aston Martin, the XKR represents value for money. And a V8 engine is far nicer than a straight six. And I think the build quality is actually better in the XKR. I found this car absolutely effortless to drive. And for a car that's nigh on 20 years old, it really is a testament to how this car was built. The 4-litre V8 Supercharged is a beautiful, silky smooth engine. You put your foot down and it just delivers the power. And what's nice about a supercharger is that a supercharger just works all the way through. You don't get this sort of lull and then a boost of pressure. It works all the way through. So it's far more subtle, but an extremely beautiful power delivery. And I'm doing 70 miles an hour now, and I did that virtually all the way, where I could, coming back from Edinburgh. And this car sat on the road, just beautiful. I said, didn't pull to the left, didn't pull to the right, just was silky smooth. In fact, it was just very, I'm still taken aback and still smitten about how comfortable that this car is. It's almost as comfortable as a sheepskin coat. It's not heavy, it's not cumbersome, but you can wear something very light underneath and it's windproof and you're warm. And that is what the Jaguar is.